morning, everybody. How are y'all doing?
Hey, my name is Latasha Bronner. I am a wife and mother. We live in a small town in Georgia. If you know me, you're you got to be from this area too. Um, I love God. I love to worship God. I sing a little bit. I have children who sing. I have a few that play a few instruments. I play at church myself, but y'all, I ain't. I'm not a player. If you want to sing and see, come see me. And it's gonna be the same tune. I play it to everything. I just switch up how fast or how slow I'm going. But I am doing this to try and get out of my box. I have put myself in a box and I've been there for years. And I'm just trying to do something different. What's that saying? If you want to, uh, I know the saying. It's just not coming to me right now. If you want to do something different, you gotta do. If you want to be somewhere different or go somewhere different, you got to do something you've never done before. So this is my attempt at something I've never done before. So I have recorded this video probably 10 times this morning. I almost got through. And the phone flipped over and fell over on his face, and I couldn't get it to get back right. So I'm re recording this. So I'm starting over. This is my story on me giving forgiveness. Um, I would say for years, I suffered with a lot of bitterness and hatred. And just did not, you know how we do this thing where we say, well, I love so and so, I just don't like them. Like that's the Christian thing to say, right? But it just lays down a whole bunch of stuff that you just don't want to let go of. I would say that about my dad. That's who I gave forgiveness to. Um, I love him. I just don't like how he acts. I don't like his ways, but I love him. And then you go back down the road and you look at some stuff and you were like, was that love? Because love comes with no strings. I love you if you don't treat me right. That's what Jesus did for us. He loved us so much that he died for us. He Even the ones who still do not acknowledge him, who still do not believe in him, he loves them. And so we're Christians and profess to be Christ-like, then we have to be like him in all things. So I'm just going to start with my story. I have told this previously on my Facebook page, but if you listen to it there, please listen to this because I thought I was done when I posted that video, but I wasn't done, y'all. I realized that. So I grew up in a home with my mother and my father until I was about 11 years old. Um, I can remember family sitting around the tree, opening Christmas present. Like I remember all that. I remember that. My dad was not a horrible dad. Like I can remember him loving us. We got spankings and we were disciplined. But it was just if we did something wrong or something we weren't supposed to be doing, but we were not bad children, so we weren't always doing things, but we got spanked and disciplined. Um, but I remember, and I can't remember the first ever episode of this, but my dad was abusive to my mama. And I've always said, I said it on the first video that I posted on Facebook, saying abusive was too nice of a word. My dad beat the crap out of my mama. I remember kicking her in the head and the face with his boots on. I can remember the black eyes. I can remember him pulling a gun out on her. I can remember him threatening to kill her. I can remember in response to that finding a suicide note that my mom had wrote, saying, I remember her that night before him telling him to just kill me and I'll write a note and say I killed myself. Just tired of it. But thank God that he didn't listen to her, and thank God that God that God was watching over her. Um, I don't even know if my siblings knew about that note, but I found it and I read it. And I was so in shock. I read maybe the first paragraph and I just had to like put it down, because I didn't even want to think about that. But I thank God that during probably that encounter, I can remember um, the church that we attend now. My grandmother first started going to that church, and it was by way of a mission. Um, it was our former pastor. His name was W.F. Slayton. They started a mission in our city. It was Warren Springs, Georgia, and they started going to this old Eleanor Roosevelt schoolyard, and they would come and they would preach, and they would it was preaching that I had never heard before, and they were preaching about deliverance and being saved and set free, and um I can remember them having a tub where they were baptizing people in the tub. Um, People giving their lives to God, and my grandmother connected herself to this ministry. And eventually, they moved to a couple places, but ended up in her having service in her house, and it stayed there in her house until the church building that we're in now was built. And I can remember my mom going to those services, and it was different from us because these were these Pentecostal people, these sanctified people that were in there shouting and dancing and singing and praising God. So it was different for us. But my mom caught hold of something, and it was the light and the life and the love of God. And I thank God so much for that. Um, and I think she found out that she didn't have to stay where she was. She didn't have to stay in that. She didn't have to, just keep taking the abuse. And I thank God for her boss. She worked for a lady at the time named Peggy Alexander, who helped her so much. She helped us get into another house. She helped my mom get on Section 8. She helped my mom, got her in touch with a lot of people, and she did a lot of stuff for us. Um, we were poor and struggled and probably didn't know we were poor, but because some of the stories my mom told after we grew up, we didn't even know what was going on. She said that she would eat at work so that she would be full, and then she'd come home and cook what she had and feed us, and so that we would have enough and could get leftovers in seconds. And um, she didn't make much money, and in her leaving, um, when I was 11, or I think I might have been 10 because I remember turning 11 when we got into the new house. Um, but she, she had a hard time, and my dad didn't help. It was like when we left, we didn't exist. Like we would see him, and it was hey, and we knew this was our dad. And I can remember getting one child support check, and you're thinking, oh, okay, oh, this is gonna be good, or I'm pretty sure she felt like that. And he quit that job so he wouldn't have to pay child support. Like, and I'm not doing this to bash my dad. I honestly have gotten to a place of I'm okay. It's just what it was. Like, this is just what happened. I'll include stuff that happened, but it's not to tear him down. Um, you know how you do this thing of I love so and so, I just don't like their ways. And I think that is probably just a thing Christians say. Um, but it pats down and taps down a lot of unforgiveness and a lot of feelings that you probably should just let come on out. Because it was easy to say, oh, I love him, I just don't like what he's doing. When that wasn't the case at all. And like when I think about it, like there was a lot of hatred and a lot of animosity, and like you as a child, you try and stay in your child's place, and you don't want to disrespect your parents, and you don't want to disrespect because you're just taught that you aren't supposed to um, disrespect them. So I probably never had a conversation concerning this, and I felt like maybe we should have talked more about it, but we didn't. And I think all of us, all of me and my siblings, have the same feelings. You guys, there were. I'm skipping. I'm skipping. I'm rambling, and I'm gonna get to a spot. But there were five of us. My oldest sister, and then there's a sister next to me, then me, then my brother, and my baby sister. My oldest sister died in 2013. So now there are just four of us. But we all like endured this entire thing. Um, I can remember that my second oldest sister would get when she heard my dad's car about to pull up in the yard, like she could hear it coming. She would get sick on her stomach and vomiting and this like nauseous. And we didn't know as children that that was anxiety, but that's exactly what that was. But it was kind of hard. But I'm glad when children probably have issues with their parents divorcing or separating, but we were oh so happy. When I say it was like freedom, it was freedom. But my mom never talked bad about my dad. She never put my dad down. My mom even forgave my dad, and I think I probably harbored a lot of bad feelings towards him just for what he did to her, because he never put his hands on us. He never we got spankings and whippings and discipline, but like he never beat us or anything like that. So and probably too that the fact that he didn't take care of us, that played a lot into it as well. But I can remember him having to have a surgery, and my mom allowed him to come and stay, and she helped take care of him. Like she did not hate him at all. Um, so we're gonna fast forward to 2022, about 2 years ago. And we all knew where our dad was. We talked to our dad. I would take him Father's Day gifts, grudgingly, but I would take him, because it's that whole thing of, well, you can't act like that. You can't do that. You have to be different. But I was different indeed. But my heart was horrible. So my aunt calls me and says, and my mom passed in 2015, so she's not even around for any of this. So my aunt calls and says, there's an ambulance at your dad's house, trying to see what's going on. So I finally get a call because I'm at work when I get the call. And it was during like the height of COVID, so you couldn't go to the hospitals. They still had that where they weren't allowing people to come in the hospitals like and sit and be in there like that. Was this 2 years ago? It was. But I get a call and they say that he's had a stroke and they're sending him he went to LaGrange. If you're from around here, you know where that is. If not, you can just Google it. They sent him to Wellstar Kennestone Hospital from there in Marietta. And he got treated. And when he initially got there, somebody could come because he was in like ICU, but then he got stepped down, so I still couldn't come. But I would talk to him on the phone and see how he was doing. He wasn't so bad off that he needed to go to rehab afterwards, but it affected his left side, and he had hard time seeing, and he had issues with feeling in his left side. So he had a little trouble walking, but it was not bad. So they decided to send him to the local nursing home that's about 10 minutes from me. And he did like a step down type thing. And so he was going to do that for about 2 weeks. And I had talked with my sister because I got this house with all these kids and it's already small. Ain't enough room for us. I know it ain't enough room for my dad to come here either. So I had talked with my sister, and he was going to go and stay with her. My sister is in Ohio. And so we had this conversation, and when I called talking about him, about to leave, and she was like, I can't. Like, I can't do it. And I will say at the time I was upset. I did not understand. We done had this whole conversation. Like, this is the plan. This is what we're doing. And now you saying, you can't do it. And I felt like it was all falling on me. But when I tell you, I understand exactly what it was. The same reasons that she had as to not wanting him to come to her house, I had them too. I just wasn't going to say it. Good Christian somebody. You don't feel like that. You keep all that down. You just show what you're supposed to do. And, but I understand. I completely understand. He came here. I wasn't ugly to my dad because I was just do this whole thing of I love my dad. I don't want anybody talking about him. That's what I'm saying. And I didn't want anybody saying anything bad about him. But just there was still stuff that was just deeply rooted in me. that I just didn't deal with. Just let it fester and bubble and turn into bitterness and hatred. Um, so he comes here and I take care of him, but I find myself being really snappy. You know, he can say the smallest thing, and I'm just ready, looking for a reason to say something smart. Um, and thanks to God for being in relationship with God and knowing that that's not okay. That ain't right. You don't treat people like that. Like there's something wrong with that. Like you need to find out what's going on. And I can remember one morning I was getting ready for work and he was fussing about something. Like I would get up every morning early and fix him breakfast, make his coffee, give it to him before I left. I would make sure he had lunch. Like, hey, this is in the refrigerator. Grab this. I put it right here. You know, and he was fussing about some ice cream or something. I didn't go get it or something. I don't even remember. But when I tell you, I let him have it that morning, and I told him when I get back here, me and you gonna have a talk. And he said, we sure can. Like, okay. Because his mouth is smart too, y'all. His mouth is smart. So I work about an hour away at this time, during that time. I'm driving to work, and when I tell y'all, I'm like fired up, like I'm mad. I'm so mad. I'm talking about what I'm gonna say to him, and all the stuff I'm gonna bring up, and I get to work and I'm still mad, and I'm working, pulling back patience, and I'm still mad. And as the day goes on, I'm calmed down, and the Holy Spirit is speaking to me, and it's like, hold on, this is not how you act. This ain't how you conduct yourself. Because, y'all, your feelings will get you in trouble. Your feelings will get you in trouble. There's a lot of people dead off of feelings. But sometimes feelings are lies. If it's not a truth and God didn't give you the feeling, know that it's a lie, and that it can get you in trouble. Um, so I calm down and I'm like, you know what? Let's just figure out how I'm going to talk to him, because I'm still planning on talking to him. I'm just not going to be with all this anger and all this hatred. So I map out what we're going to talk about first, and then where we're going to talk about, and what I'm going to say, and all the stuff that I'm going to do. And, um, so I head home and I'm okay. And I get here and he's here, and I decide to let him get a shower first. So I go in the bathroom to run the shower. And as I'm turning the shower on, I hear the Holy Spirit speaking to me. And it's so nothing your dad did affected what you're doing now, right? Like you're okay, and your children are okay, and and I'm like, yeah. And it was like, and you say it don't matter what he did, you guys are still all right. And I'm like, yeah. And it's like, so if it doesn't matter, why does it matter? And I was like, mm-mm. You're not about to talk me out of having this conversation with this man, because I'm about to get this apology. Ain't that crazy, me talking to the Holy Spirit like that? Like it's trying to nudge me and get me in the right place, and I'm talking back. Ain't that just like a hard headed child? So uh, I was like, I'm having this conversation, and I hear it again. So if it doesn't matter, why does it matter? And I was like, okay, I understand. And I really did, y'all. I really did like take that in. Like I knew exactly what was going on. And it was, I started having all these thoughts of in just that little short time of an apology is not necessary for you to give anybody, for you to forgive anybody. Sometimes we want one. It doesn't mean we don't want it, but we don't need it to forgive. So, because sometimes people will apologize and we'll be in our head and say, they ain't mean that. They just said that. They didn't mean that. And you won't forgive them. So know that an apology doesn't change your heart posture. Forgiveness is a change in the heart posture. And if you don't do it, I don't care how many people give you apologies or how many apologies they give you. They can apologize from now to the end of the world. If your heart doesn't change, You'll still be mad. You'll still be upset. You'll still carry unforgiveness in your heart. And so I decided at that time that, I don't need an apology. I just have to change what I'm doing. I have to let this go. And y'all, not long after that, we found him a place to stay. Got him an apartment. And I was like, oh, all because, like I forgave, and, like God is really moving. I'm just so spiritual about it now. And he got him in his own place. And I thought things were like so much better. But y'all, my heart still was not together. Just I'm just gonna admit it. Like it just was not. Like, it was nice to say. It sound real good. At the time when I first said it, like I did feel like it, but I didn't change anything. I just said a bunch of words. I thought I meant it, but I didn't act on the words that I was saying. Like, it was just there, and it was just, we're going to keep repeating this, but we're not going to make any changes. Not going to do anything different. We're not going to change our thought process. We're just going to keep on it. But I'm going to keep saying it. I'm going to keep saying I forgave, but I really didn't. And y'all, I really realized this when he had to come back and stay with me again. His apartment flooded out. And I was like, oh my God. He was supposed to stay 2 weeks. It ended up turning into about 3 months. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like that stuff is still here. Everything I felt about him is still present. And it seems like the more stuff I would try to sweep under the rug, the craziest stuff he would be saying. And it would just bother me. Him telling people he had taken care of us, and now it's time for us to take care of him. And I'm like, when did this man ever take care of us? So it was like, like I'm trying to forgive you, and you still doing stupid stuff and saying stupid stuff and telling lies. But the thing is that my forgiveness was not supposed to be hinged on his actions. So I don't care what he was doing. I was still supposed to be in a state of forgiveness. So finally, they fixed his apartment. Everything was straight, and he went back. And y'all, I still there were still like issues for me. And I'm gonna tell you what happened. We recently found out that he had prostate cancer. And so I was taking him for his procedure so he could do his biopsy. And he was having a conversation with somebody who, this is a very small town, but we had gotten somewhere, who was also from like the county, and she knew, and was actually related to his brother, but not that he was related to her. Just her one his it's just they weren't related, but they were related to somebody, a mutual somebody. Um, and so they were talking, and I'm sitting there like, and I would do this all the time when he had conversations with people. He loves to talk, y'all. My dad loves to talk, and he knows a lot of people, and he knows a lot of stuff, and um, uh, uh, just from growing up, like he knows a lot of people around. And in my head, like people would ask me about him, and I'd be like, why y'all asking me about this man? Like, I really didn't want them to be asking me about him. And they were always talking about how good and kind he was. And I'm like, like this would be in the back of my head, like while he's having these conversations with people. But that particular day he was talking, and the conversation was good. Like, and he was into it, and the person he was talking to was into it, and and but I was sitting back thinking, if they just really knew this man, I wish these people really knew this man. Like, they don't even know the half of what he ain't did, or what he did, or how he is, and he's putting on like. And God checked me, and it was, this man is over here having a good conversation. He is all into it. He is happy, and your bitter, miserable self is sitting back here. But he has the problem. He the one you say got the problem, but you the one in the wrong. You the one miserable. He fine. Y'all, I had talked to him that second time around when he was at my house, and I was telling him, he was like, you mad at me about stuff I did with your mom. And I said, I sure am, just, and talked about how I said, you need to acknowledge that you played a part in how I feel. And this man told me, you need to get over that. And I was like, like that was the perfect segue for you to say, well, I'm sorry. Yeah, but I didn't get that, y'all. I didn't get that. And I had to be okay with that because he was right. I needed to get over it. I needed to get over it. But I did not until God checked me in that room when we were waiting to get his biopsy done. And it was you sitting over here miserable and unhappy. This man is happy, but you saying he got the problem. He ain't the problem. He wasn't the problem, y'all. He wasn't the problem. It really is heart posture, y'all. It really is. Change your mind, change your ideas. Yeah, so and so did such and such. Yeah, some of the stuff somebody else is going through is probably way worse than what I just talked about. But it's still not benefiting you. It's still not changing anything in you, but making you more hateful and making you bitter and causing issues for you. And it's not doing a thing for that person. So get it together like I had to get it together and know this process. Forgiveness is a process. Just because you decide that you're going to forgive doesn't mean that all those same feelings aren't still there, that they aren't still present, that they won't keep coming, that you're not going to forget stuff that was done, but you have to change how you're going to go about dealing with it. Y'all, I hope this helps somebody. I hope this blesses somebody. And I'm going to continue to do these videos. They may not all come from me talking about forgiveness, but I'm going to keep doing this so that I can get better at being me and being a child of God. All right, I love y'all. Y'all have a great rest of the day.